broadcasting live with pre-recorded lines. Welcome, dirty peasants, to the episode 1 of the Wartwood Gazette podcast. I'm your host, Thumbaticon, and today we'll be covering, what episode number are we on for season 2?
I don't even count at this
26 and 27.
Wait, is that segments, or?
New Wartwood is saying is episode 26, and Friender Frobo is episode 27.
Alright, that's what we're going with. So you already know who I am. I'm Thumbaticon, and today we've gathered a wonderful panel of experts. Yeah, you guys are all experts, right?
I mean, sure. Let's go with that.
So first we have King of the Uzbeks.
Hello. Back again.
We also have Advent.
What's up?
And we also have Ben.
Hello.
So this is the first time Ben and Advent are on the podcast. So I guess starting with Ben, what are your general thoughts on Amphibia as a whole, or Amphibia season 2?
I guess I'll go first. Some of you may know me as one of the moderators on the Amphibia subreddit. That's where I discovered the show through Reddit, as have a lot of people probably. And honestly, it's one of my favorite shows at the moment. And season 2 is great. It's even better.
All right, thanks, Ben. And how about you, Advent? What are your general thoughts of Amphibia season 2, or how did you find out about the show?
Well, mostly I found out about the show looking at cartoon sites and, well, looking at stuff that people really like to talk about. And I decided to check this show out after having sort of a resurgence of my like of animated shows. But yeah, thanks to the Owl House. But overall, I think Amphibia is probably one of the most solidly made Disney animated shows of all time in general. I think season 1 was mostly casual, but overall really solidly made slice of life like situations. And I think that while it was very safe, I think Reunion was probably the best episode of season 1 that brought it up much further. And season 2 has been mostly followed up in the stakes of the plot, the characters, and the overall tone. And I really liked it. I have my fears on how they can go, but overall, season 2 has been just like this really solidly made season. And overall, I really, really love this show.
All right, thanks, Advent. So we're going to start with talking about New Wartwood first, and I think we'll cover probably the first half of the segment up until when Marcy is lying awake at night. So I guess who wants to share their thoughts first about that chunk of the segment?
I thought it was very solid. I thought that Marcy having trouble just sort of introducing herself in this very awkward manner, talking to people like, hey, tell me about the history of the town, which like nobody even knows. Felt very in character with her. It felt like what she said in Scavenger Hunt about having trouble connecting with people. And it felt both very realistic from her perspective and from the response of the Wartwood people.
Yeah, like, the only thing, like, I was kind of surprised was that the show didn't really, I was expecting them to, like, bring up that the townsfolk almost got murdered by Sasha. But then, like, it was mostly just, like, their normal slow to accept motto.
Which I'm also surprised the motto never got name dropped. And I do feel like they're sort of saving all the Sasha up so they can have a dramatic Sasha-Marcy reunion where like Marcy doesn't quite understand what's going on. Which I'm sure that will be very well handled and a nice dramatic set piece, but it is a little weird that it's not being brought up now.
Advent, what's your general thoughts on this first half?
I do agree with Uzbeks that the such incident should have been at least name dropped, but I do think that it was for the purpose for Marcy to stay mostly not knowing what happened exactly in Reunion, because I do think that's coming up in sort of like True Colors, Third Temple, that Marcy's gonna really discover the type of person that Sasha was in that episode. But overall, starting for the middle of the segment, I do think that okay, first of all, I thought Marcy was gonna sleep in the sofa. First of all, I was kind of surprised to see her in the wagon. I think that's pronounced the wagon. Yes, but I did find it really in character how she was kind of nervous on this. Well, trying to make friends in Wartwood, geeking out on the whole farm aesthetic that she loved about a HP in Marcy at the Gates, and also the townsfolk being kind of sort of weirded out by it. Overall, was really solidly made. I think Amphibia and the general can do that sort of characterization really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like especially when Marcy starts like reconfiguring the town. Actually, before the night, even before the day is over, she's already like got like electricity running through the town. Or I don't know if it's electricity, maybe it's just like probably I don't know fireflies and jars. But
Yeah.
Ben, what was your thoughts on this like first half of New Wartwood?
Um, I'm not the best explainer of things to begin with, but um, I I I liked it. Uh, yeah, when she was like refixing things, and like one guy was like, "Ooh, my house is pretty now," and like she just fixed the town statue in like 3 steps with like mixing random chemicals and who knows what. And they were like, and the
I'm
townspeople were
sorry.
just like, "Oh, she fixed it. Cool." And when she said like the town was built on a swamp, I could definitely tell some foreshadowing in the second bit.
Hmm.
And when I saw Marcy, like she like when she mixed the chemicals and made that like purple goo, like it kind of reminded me of. I know it's unrelated, but it reminded me of the apothecary like spores.
Oh yeah.
It's probably completely unrelated. It was just I don't know. That was just my first thought.
Yeah. Well, obviously the scene in Marcy at the Gates where she does the thing with the vines and mixes stuff together. Do that.
Yeah, and then also like uh she was like fixing out the potholes on the road,
Hmm.
and that kind of reminded me back in I think way back in Hop Popular, where like when Hop Pop's like basically making his like pitch for mayor, he was talking about how like the
Hmm.
roads were a mess.
Yeah.
Also, I I just realized because I watched After the Rain today too, along with this episode. In that episode, there was those things that were digging holes. I don't know if this was like just a direct connection to that episode, but I bet the potholes were definitely probably a back idea like related to that episode too.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's a
all
nice
those creatures
observation.
were digging those holes and stealing stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. And I
Yeah.
actually never thought of that until now. And then I guess before you go to the next half, like there's
I
also
will.
like
I
I
will
was gonna
say I
talk about like
was.
Toadstool. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Toadstool. I was surprised by how much a role he played in this. Pleasantly surprised. I think he was very good in this.
Yeah, like because and now we know that the Toad to Redemption, what is it called? Toad to Redemption?
Yeah.
That's a Toadstool episode, and then we were like he's already getting kind of like a little bit of a role, and we also get a little bit of a teaser for Maddie's sisters as well, the tiny
Hmm.
pollywogs.
Yeah.
And I just like that balloon that Toadstool had.
Yeah, and then Toady gets carried off. Oh, poor Toady.
We never see that balloon again.
Toady someday is gonna have his revenge.
I'm sure.
Toady
Season
villain for
3,
season
The
3.
Revenge of Toady.
Toady final boss. I do think it's weird that they have such a prominent voice actor in what is a very bit part. Hasn't even had his own Townie episode. So I do think he's going to play some role going forward.
Well, don't forget that. Remember, what was his name in the when he had the human form in the shut-in?
Yeah,
Brody.
Yeah.
Did Brody have like more lines than our Toady?
I definitely think that Toady is going to be brought up someday. I don't know
I think
when,
play
but
a
I do
prominent
have a
role in.
suspicion.
I'm sorry, Advent.
I like to
About that.
believe he's going to have a snapping point or something, like just
Yeah.
having to deal with Toadstool's, like just having to deal with all the stuff Toadstool makes him do.
Yeah, that might. I'm sure he'll play some role in Toad to Redemption.
Actually, I do think that the Toadstool this episode is kind of sort of setting up to redemption in some way, because he's much more. He has more character development since the last time we saw him, which was, I guess, Reunion, in which, well, he had that small bit of character development, and now with the new episodes at Wartwood, I do think that he's having that more space to develop, and I think that's going to directly connect to Redemption, and then on to the rest of the season and the story.
Yep,
Especially
that's
with the Toad Lord, the plot point that's gonna be touched up in Barrel, which I do have a suspicion that he's gonna make at least a cameo or a mention there.
Yeah, and
that's
I do think Toad to Redemption will set up Barrel's Warhammer in some way, at least subtly.
oh, I'm not. I hope so, but like I'm not counting on it. If Total Redemption's like a Townie episode, but I can
Well,
see
there's
that
a
whoever.
representative from Newtopia coming,
Right,
and I'm
I was gonna mention
figuring at
that.
least some mention of the situation.
Probably, and this is probably a
Yeah,
good time to
something like a mention of maybe
before.
like, oh, Toadstool, we need you because you're the only guy we trust right now. Because the other Toads are kind of getting rebellious and shit. Sorry.
And I think before this second half, we should mention, I guess, like not Marcy, Anne's pep talk to Marcy before when she gets like the new plans for New Wartwood.
I thought in general it was good that Anne played sort of a rational role in this episode. We saw that in Night Drivers and Return to Wartwood. So, oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's good to see a rational. Also, Joy is in the chat wanting to join.
Oh, come on in, Joey.
Hi. Sorry for being late. I was at my stepdad's. But I'm here finally. I have good internet. I can talk. What are we talking about?
So
Um,
we are in. Oh, so we're talking about the first half of New Wartwood. So do you have any thoughts about it, or what are your thoughts on it, Joy? Before we transition to like the second half after
Okay, so
Marcy goes to bed.
uh, the first half of New World. Well, firstly, Marcy's amazing. In all situations, including her introduction. Her introduction in that episode. I mean. I really like that she's staying in Wartwood now. I didn't think we'd get to see something like that. I thought they were just gonna be like traveling around. But it's neat to see that they got to stay in Wartwood for a while and that Marcy's there with them. It's a really nice dynamic. I think her interacting with the town, as awkward as it was very nice. I like the I like seeing Marcy there. Basically, that's most of what I got to say.
Okay, and yeah, Marcy kind of can't. I guess like she can't stop like thinking about like trying to please the town, So like
Mhm.
even the next morning when they wake up and she's like already transformed. Not I shouldn't say transformed. She's already how do I say gentrified the
Yeah.
town the next day. So yeah, we get Suit Marcy, we get Joe Sparrow, and we also get
Get the bugs in the suit thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think it could
So
have used could have used a scene where Marcy was more clearly upset. Like it felt like she was vaguely like bummed out, but it didn't feel like, oh, this sort of extreme feeling that would lead her to completely rebuild the town, if you know what I mean.
like even already the segment felt like really I don't want to say rushed because I don't think it was rushed. It just felt very like fast paced.
There were lots of side gags, like the gag with Mantis and the pig and stuff like that felt a little cobbled together. But yeah.
This episode felt
Actually,
very fast paced. It was probably my biggest issue with it. It didn't feel like 11 minutes, and 11 minutes is already not a lot in regards to standard TV. But this just felt I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to say rushed. Very fast paced. It didn't. The pacing was very off, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the main
It could have used a
problem here,
pause at some point, just a pause for emotion and reflection.
yeah, that's what I think. I think the not the well, the problem with this episode is that there wasn't much of a space to breathe between the first and second segments. It was more like plot, the story, and the end. Amphibia is mostly like the story, then we see the perspective, then we see the rest of the events play out, and then we see the conclusion. But this time it was the story followed up by more story, then followed up by even more story, and then the end, which is kind of
That's a
is a
really good way
pity.
to put it. Yeah.
Kind of like
Which
the episode was going as fast as Marcy does, because she's
which I do
so.
find kind of
She,
disappointing because we didn't see much of the perspective of Anne, Greg, Polly, the planters, and the Wartwood folk in general towards these changes, more like passing comments. And so when Marcy like built this gigantic new Wartwood, we don't really see their reactions to it. It's just like, oh cool, and then the plot goes on from there. And before we get a chance to see that, the climax steps in with the Wartwood flooding down, and then comes the solution, the end, and we're like, what? What happened?
Speaking of climax, Joe Sparrow was the MVP of this episode.
Truly a hero of the ages.
Absolutely the highlight of the episode.
I
yeah,
love I love the Gundam reference. It was probably one of the best parts of the entire episode. But actually, let me tie that up with another thing I wanted to say. This batch of episodes had a lot of references.
Yeah, I think we'll probably cover more of those references in the next segment. But what was like the toadstool like golden statue? Like what was that? Was that just supposed to be referencing like a Buddha cat?
I know. Have you ever seen those clocks? Those cat clocks that are just looking from side to side. I think it's just meant to be that.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
referring to. Yeah, okay.
oh,
I actually thought the clock was going to do more because of Anne emphasizing, wow, I don't like that. But then it got thrown away, and that's the end of that. I really thought it was going to come up in the climax, but it really didn't.
I mean, I like how like Joe basically decapitated it.
He knew. He knew it was a danger to the Amphibia, and he was destroy everything.
Joe
Toadstool
Sparrow
screaming.
protects everyone.
He
Toadstool
Mhm.
did.
screaming his face upon seeing his beautiful representation of himself being decapitated is also a highlight of the episode.
I do think my main highlight of the of the second half of this episode slash segment was the mostly Toadstool because I love Toadstool, the character. I don't know, I just find it really entertaining on screen. And Joe Sparrow, basically. Also, Marcy's new look. I do think it's her. I mean,
Certainly suits her as sort of the one-off for the showman aspect we're seeing here.
Ben, what were your thoughts on the second half of this episode and like the resolution?
I mean, I expected the just classic. They're not mad. They're just kind of expecting it to happen, and I kind of felt it would just it would end that way, but like yeah, I don't know how. I'm
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like because after Return to Wartwood, like the townsfolk like told the planters that they're like, kind of used to all these like wacky hijinks, burning the town every other week. So it's like it
yeah.
was
I
like
think at this
nice
point they're
seeing
basically
Marcy.
numb to it all.
Oh, sorry, Advent. What did you say?
I think at this point the Warwood folk are really numb to it all. I think this happens like twice a week, and they just stop giving a dang. So they just said, "Yeah, whatever, do what you want. As long as you're not like Sasha and trying to murder us all in a giant massacre, you're cool."
They're just like they see Marcy and Anne and Sprig running past from something, and they're like, this again. Forget it.
God damn
Seen
it, Spring!
it.
This is the second time we had to rebuild the orphanage.
Gosh dang it, Anne. Why you be like this?
I did
God
like
dang it,
the
Anne.
joke
The
about like
hospital.
the town founder whose name I don't know.
I don't think they even said the town's founder name in the episode
Exactly,
at
that's the
all.
joke.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to build this town on my name. Then that name is forgotten.
Yeah, and then like Mrs. Croker has that like classic zoom in on the character while they like describe like their interpersonal like
Yeah,
deepest
those
fears.
are always a riot.
Oh, I love those.
It's that kind of blatant humor that I really love about Amphibia. It's kind of that pen delivery or that over exaggerated of the situation and expression. I love that.
And I guess like the segment ends with Marcy being probably the second fastest builder in Wartwood, first being Chuck, who
Of
rebuilt
course.
the planter home in like seconds in Handy Ann.
Yeah.
I
Do,
can
do,
fix
do,
it.
do, do.
Also, before we move on, I just wanna highlight that Marcy said, "It's a me," like with the Mario voice, and I thought that was real adorable.
Everything Marcy does is adorable in my opinion.
Yeah.
Marcy is adorable. We all love her.
And then
Yep.
there's also like what I don't get is why did everyone run away from the bugs when everyone eats bugs? But I guess that's the idea of the bugs somehow like
And the
creating a
sheer
hive
mass of
mind.
them.
Like
Listen,
they,
this is
they, they somehow
Amphibia.
made a hive mind to form like a suit that like could just move on its own. I don't know.
I'm
I
reminded of
mean,
I
that
just
one
like
Spider-Man comic where they revealed an alternate universe where Spider-Man is just a bunch of spiders that combine into a
yes.
guy.
Oh my god, that was my first my first thought.
Hmm.
I'm glad and Advent is a man of culture.
Yeah.
Legion of Bugs, too angry to die.
But I just expected them to like all just like start like eating the bugs at the very end. But I'm glad Joe Sparrow came back.
Joe
Joe
Sparrow gets a
Sparrow.
feast and reward for doing what he did today.
He'll eat like a king.
Yeah.
He is a
Upper,
king.
Yo,
upper
Sparrow
job
has
is
only
never
existed.
done.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Advent.
I know. No, I just wanted to say a bird's job is never done.
It's like Joe
So
Sparrow.
he will return
Cry.
someday. I really want him to return in season 3. He's like the best character in this batch by far. I love him.
I don't know if he's the best character in this batch because we also have a friend
We have
or
Marcy.
Frobo. Oh, okay, Ben. I thought we were on the same page, but I guess not.
I was kind
guess
of
that's it for the
spaced out
Wartwood, I
for a
guess.
minute. What happened? I was kind
We were
of.
talking about the best character, new character in this batch of episodes, but
Obviously,
can't
the pair
believe-
of cops.
Oh yeah, the
They're-
cops are great.
oh yeah, the cops.
Oh yeah, they
It's like-
exist.
Octopus
It was
in
a
it.
giant octopus. End of case.
I feel like they can't ever settle on what type of law enforcers they have. Remember
have
that
a
sheriff?
And he was in
remember
some of
that
the crowd,
sheriff?
but apparently did nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the sheriff just appeared on that one episode. I don't know if he appeared a lot, but he's done nothing.
To be fair, there are cops in low-level towns, so they most likely will never do anything in their lives.
Fair enough.
All right. Does anyone have any more thoughts about New Wartwood before we go on to the next segment?
Oh yeah.
Outside
Yes.
the obvious problem, outside the obvious thing that we're obviously gonna talk about later, I do think this episode went by like super quick. But overall, I think the jokes landed. I think was like I get the feeling that out of all the episodes that they've been developing in season 2B, this was the one they put the least effort to. And I don't mean it was badly made or badly written, but I do mean that out of all the gigantic episodes that we're having or had, I think the team just decided to put less attention to this episode, New Wartwood, than the rest of the season.
Okay. How about you, Ben? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. What's everybody's thoughts on that frame of Anne blushing when Marcy started talking
Damn it! I
about?
nobody would bring it up if we just recorded.
going there?
Yeah.
Or should we save it to the end? I think it's best to discuss it now so it doesn't bother us.
We can
later.
focus on Frobo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so if I'm being completely honest, I just think it's a random thing that just appeared because I don't know, miscommunication. This happens a lot in cartoons. It's not the first time I've seen a random blush on a character for no reason. It's actually very common in media to just give characters random blushes, and I don't get it. And I think that's all that is, because
But to
even
be
if it
honest,
were, yeah, even if it were anything, actually relevant, it's such a random moment. Marcy was just talking about her experiences in Wartwood. It had nothing of relevance or nothing that would make Anne blush.
Yeah, I
Joey,
don't
let me
even.
be 100% transparent. I do think this was probably a cute little nod that the storyboarders wanted to add, and then it was animated for some reason. But I don't think it's
Yeah.
getting off anywhere. Mostly
I
because of this. Amphibia loves to set things up. It loves to introduce concept and then development later. But Morkan, or at least the shipping part, has never been one of them.
Yeah,
Every time
Amphibia
Amphibia
doesn't
yeah,
really
if
have a
I'm
lot
being
of things
completely honest,
to.
a romantic
uh,
every time the show has introduced some sort of romantic interest, mostly Ivy and Sylvia, it has been teased that, for example, HB and Sprig have feelings for them. And on the other hand, has had zero of this.
Except
think-
this could be the teasing for something later. Is the thing.
I mean,
It could perfectly be.
I'm not betting on it. I personally, for a good while, had a theory that someone, some storyboarder or writer or something, uh,
I
on the team actually ships that, uh, and they're just like adding cute little nods to it because that they just
yeah,
nothing story
but I
relevant.
I mean, you guys all make really great points,
I
but
don't.
consider this. Korosami, I rest my case.
Yeah,
Kurasami was mostly a product of the Korra team being allowed to do that at that time because at that time Nick was super restrictive of that sort of stuff, and by
Nick
the
didn't give a
end
shit
they
about
were
Korra.
recently. I think they were recently
Like no,
allowed
so,
to do that.
but like
Wow, wow,
Whoa, Snakes. You might
man,
as well put a target on your back.
man, we're shitting on Legend of Korra, even on
no,
something
I'm not shitting on
completely
Legend of
unrelated.
Korra. I'm shitting on Nick. I'm saying that Nick didn't give anything about Legend of Korra, so the creators had a freer hand with Korosami than they would have in other situations.
Fair
I'm not
enough,
shitting on
fair.
Korra. I
That
like
was
Korra.
mostly part of the timing of the situation.
Yeah.
I do think that Kurasami was in the cards at some point, but I think Nick at that time, and even to this time, I think, is super restrictive of that sort of stuff, LGBTQ representation in that way. So I think that only by the end they were allowed to execute that. Disney, on the other hand, is much less restrictive of that. We already saw that with shows like The Owl House, which
Oh
they
yeah,
allowed
That's a
definitely.
fairly
to
recent
keep that.
development. Disney has always
So
been
if
very
Mark
cautious.
Han was really part of the show, I do think that it would have been teased earlier, or at least and like being weird around the way that she talked about Marcy.
I will see. I think this could very well be the beginning of the setup. I think everyone likes to talk about. Well, actually, not everyone likes to talk about Lumity. I know that, but I think not every deception of a crush is going to follow that same progression. I think you're right. This could be nothing, but I think Matt has generally kept a tight ship on that kind of thing, and I don't think he would. If this is a one-off, I could see that. But if it keeps happening, I think it is building to something. Just because I don't think Matt wants to wind up in like a queer baiting situation, where the show is making references but never delivers. I think that would be a very bad place for the show to end up. So it could be a one-off, but it starts repeating. I think they need to follow through with a more open acknowledgement. And then I just like to say my bit now about like if it is going to go in that direction, what I'd like to see from that. So fair warning to anyone listening, Lemur, I know you've had some issues with this. Give me just like a couple of minutes to speak my bit, and you can edit probably some of that out. Sorry, some. So if they are going
I'd rather
forward,
not.
sorry.
But go ahead.
If they do go forward, I'd like to see more with a Marseillan sort of plot, whether it's Endgame or not. I'd like to see more of them hanging out together and having fun. Someone pointed out recently we haven't seen a lot of that. It's mostly just been Anne picking up after Marcy, them having fun. I'd like to see a more consistent, like I mentioned earlier, not just random blushes, more consistent acknowledgement of this sort of thing. I'd like to see Anne talking about it with someone else, maybe Sasha or one of the planters. I'd just like to see a well-developed, it's probably not going to be season 2, it might go into season 3. Just a fuller development and something that really fits with the storytelling we've seen elsewhere. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
I mean, we could probably talk about those 5 frames all night, but
Yes.
it's
But I
probably
don't
time to
think
shift.
I think this
I
fandom
think
has
that-
had enough of that. I do not think we will add anything that has not been discussed already in the less than 24
think
hours
this-
since we first saw the episode.
So I
trust
guess it's
Matt.
time to shift over to Friend or
No,
Frobo.
actually, wait. Objection. I have something to say about New Wartwood
What,
that I
Joy?
didn't get to say. So,
Why?
in the ending of New Wartwood, when Marcy is apologizing, we see something very interesting. Mayor Toadstool says that he is in part to blame. So we know that there's a Toadstool episode coming up, Toad to Redemption. So this is some nice build up to that. We're seeing Toadstool already starting to take the blame for what happens in the town. And he's starting to, have more empathy. He's not being as irresponsible as he was.
And then I
Just to
also,
finish up my thoughts about the whole blush thing, I think Matt and the team are very talented storytellers. And if they want to go in that direction, I trust them. And I know that we will have a well-made dynamic between that stuff. If it isn't, then no problem. And if it is, then it's also no problem. I think it could add some sort of great dynamics if they pull it off okay. But there have been there have been a history of shipping bringing down shows. But I don't think Amphibia is that type of show. So if they do that, I'm perfectly okay with that.
and then I do
Okay.
have. If anyone else wants to get in on about the blush, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I think we should just shift right into Friend or Frobo if we
Yeah.
But
want to
I
keep
have
this.
one more thing to say about Marcy. It's not shipping
I'm-
related, I promise.
I'm sorry, Uzbeks. We can't. We gotta
Yeah.
keep a
Fine.
strict timeline.
Fine.
And I'm sorry I even brought it up.
No, if we hadn't brought it up, it just would have been weird. It's good we aired our grievances.
It's fine,
The
Ben.
way
You're new. You're new here.
Was great.
So I guess the next segment is Anne or Beast, the sequel. Sorry, Friend or Frobo. So we'll cover, I guess, the first half, maybe up until. I'm just quickly strolling through this. I'm just fast forwarding the segment on my computer, but if I press play, the audio is probably gonna drown the recording. I think let's cover from the start of the episode up until Frobo does the cannonball into the town statue, destroying it yet again.
The big
Second
So let's
time this
start with
week.
second time this week. So let's start with Advent. What were your thoughts on this first half of Polly befriending this character we've been waiting so long to learn more about?
Hey, Friend of Frobo is probably one of my favorite Wartwood episodes. I really like Polly. I really like Polly getting development, and I also really like that we're getting this new dynamic with Frobo. It was also about time that we had some sort of resolution to the Frobo chasing the planters plotline or tease. But overall, I think it was a pretty cool episode. Let me just say this, starters. It was Anne or Beast 2. Okay? It was that episode again, but with a twist. Well, not really much to say. I do like that Marcy and HP are bonding. And so that
seeds.
And overall, I do like that. Well, first of all, I like the small references in this episode too, like the Sonic Unleashed title screen that in the phone game Brig and Nan were playing. But also, yeah, let's talk about Polly. Polly started off. I didn't like Polly in the beginning of the episode, but as it went on, we got to see the best parts of her character, which is not that chaotic, but also grounded in some way, because she's still technically a child. And upon those first interactions with Frobo, we really got to see that shine. Mostly when Frobo imitated Polly, and Frobo itself was adorable. I really loved him. And his movements, his animation mostly, and the way he expressed himself, I think it was really well made. Also, the cops, which were hilarious.
How about you, Ben?
Yeah, I gotta agree with whoever said it about Hop Pop and Marcy starting to get along. Uh, I I, I like the little seed shop. Marcy was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a shop just for seeds." When I would think Earth has that. Like, I mean, every other plant shop out there. But yeah, I like seeing Polly like become more than kind of like just the kid character that she was. And yeah,
I
I
found
don't.
Polly to be like a little bit more rambuck, like more like
Oh
childlike
yeah,
this episode.
yeah. She
I,
was definitely like hyped up, I guess you could kind of say this episode, because last like the first temple episode, she was like, "Shut up, Sprig," when Sprig kept bringing up the after the rain events. But this episode, she's like, "Ooh, mischief. Let's do that. Let's do all that." Kind of.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
It
guess
was definite like personality change compared to past
absolutely.
episode.
I guess when
Yeah,
like Polly is the when Polly's like when someone is more irrational than Polly, she becomes like the voice of reason. But
Mhm.
since like Anne and Sprig aren't getting into wacky adventures like season one,
I
she's
definitely
not
think
there
they
to like
let
call
her
out
calm
their.
down after the rain.
She got to be the source of the wacky adventures then.
And I do think that she recognizes there's a difference between like hijinks, like stealing pie and getting into trouble around town, and like needling an open
Destruction.
personal conflict between Hop Pop and Anne. I feel like she's intelligent enough to figure out the difference. You know?
I feel that at this point in the planter's life, they probably want to calm down a bit on the hijinks because Anne and HP are still healing from after the rain. And also, there's the thing that Polly in episode 1 was the responsible one, but throughout the show, Sprig has grown more as a person. So it's gone to the point that now Sprig is more of the responsible one because he's had the most experience, the most opening up to his family. I think that's a really interesting way to frame their characters. That Polly has kind of stagnated in her development, and so here comes Frobo to teach her a lesson about responsibility and friendship and overall growing as a person. I think was a really interesting thing.
Yeah, and I like how even in the first half of the segment, we've gotten a really, I don't want to say a good idea of Frobo's abilities because we basically got all like Frobo can do anything so far.
Uh,
Can't fly,
Deus
but other
Ex.
than that,
yeah. He pulled out just like flowers, water, and even a fence out of thin air. He also just
And toast.
has, he also just has a how do you call those things that they use to make those lines on the ground?
hose.
Yeah,
Brig.
he just has a hose arm.
Um,
He also makes all toasters
yeah.
toast.
Yeah, he does feel someone.
I think it was whole wheat toast too,
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
something.
I forget who it was. It was probably like a Princess Cthulhu because he's always coming up with good observations like this. But it might have been someone else who's like he's sort of a throwback to old timey robot, so he could sort of do anything, anytime, and he'll
Yeah,
be.
like
Yeah, I get it.
when I
Uh,
first like saw Frobo, like I immediately thought of like Lapida slash Castle in the Sky, like that design with the way his like arms just like drag across like the floor. Not they don't drag, but like they're really like close to the floor when he
yeah,
walks.
it's really cool. honestly. I really like his design. I have to admit that. I I think it's one of the best parts about him. Like he was already fun to draw before he came in. That said, I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just for so long we've seen Frobo just walking. We haven't seen him do much. The most we saw him do up until the release of this episode was in the trailer where he did, that thing. Uh but it's so weird to see Frobo just move so much, to just see him interact with the world around him, and to just see him move this lively.
The animation for Frobo was really like smooth in this episode.
It's really good. Like the swinging, the running, even the fight that we'll talk about later. It's all really good.
So I guess Uzbeks, do you have any thoughts about this first segment,
I thought it
this
was
first
very,
half?
the plotting was very basic, but also very good in that Polly went from I'll cause trouble for my family to I'll jump in the fountain to I'll grab that pie to I'll go find Frobo, and then she finds Frobo, and then she gets the pie, and then she jumps in the water, and then it's back to her family. So I thought that was very simplistic, but it gave it an opportunity to sort of see what Frobo could do, like people were saying.
Yeah, like they set up those like first two scenes
Yeah.
where Polly isn't really able to like do those activities, and then like when she has Frobo, it's like trying to return to that area where it wasn't a high enough level to complete. And that scene with the pie where like Mrs. Croker walks out like covered in
Croker
covered
has had a
in
good pair of
pie.
episodes this week.
Yeah. And then Joy, what are your thoughts on this first half of the segment?
I have to admit, even though you all made great points about why Polly acts the way she acts, I just did not like it a lot. It felt like she just regressed. Like one of my favorite episodes, just because of how well they handle Polly and her development is crap, I forgot the name. It's the Truck Stop Polly. It that episode acknowledged uh Polly's more childish tendencies and how she deals with them, and she grew up a little bit by the end. This same with like Night at the Inn. This felt like they just had to take her back to square one just so she could cause the mischief that would end up advancing the plot. I'm glad that it didn't have the biggest impact. Uh, hmm, I don't think we're going to see her be this immature again. I think this was a one-time thing they needed for plot, so that's good.
Yeah, like I kind of didn't really like how like Polly like threw the seeds around and like threw Anne and Sprig under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
And
didn't
I was
have
surprised,
fun.
like I'm guessing because of like what happens in the next half, Anne and Sprig didn't really have time to confront her about that. But I was expecting that to happen. But I guess it was worth the trade-off for what we got in the next half. But Ben, do you have any thoughts about this first half of the segment?
Uh, I think I already kind of went over a bit of it earlier, but like, yeah, as I said, and a lot of people said, like, kind of felt like Paulie took couple couple steps back personality wise, and kind of really threw Anne and Sprig under the bus. Like, here's seeds. I'm gonna make a mess. Have fun cleaning it up, you two. and then like yeah, she's chaotic in this episode, but she also clearly has a line for the chaos, like when the
Frobo
Frobo,
lands on
the mailbox or the fountain, she's like, whoa, that's not good. But she's like exploding a pie onto whoever's face.
Mrs. Croker. Yeah.
I do think it was good that Polly had a limit in this episode. She wasn't 100% chaotic. She had a limit. She had a point in the sand. She had a line in the sand in that aspect, to where she said, "Yeah, this is a bit too much."
She was like lawful or just neutral chaotic. She wasn't like evil chaotic. She was lawful or just neutral, but she was still chaotic pretty much.
Yeah. And then I guess this is a good time to talk about once the statue gets destroyed second time this week, the town, starts their witch hunt against Frobo.
I like how
So,
they just have a box of mob supplies.
well, I mean, in this town, it's probably like mandatory that everyone has
I
like a
mean,
pitchfork and a lighter under their bed.
yeah. When a monster probably invades every 2-3 days, you probably start planning these things at the town meetings, or just start planning them. Who's next?
Yeah, so I guess Uzbeks, what were your thoughts on this second half of Friend
I
or
liked
Frobo?
it. I liked. It felt like the mob was fairly logical, although still somewhat irrational. I liked Frobo protecting Polly. I liked Polly sort of trying to rectify her mistake, but couldn't get it down. I really liked how Frobo just completely wiped the floor with Sprig and Anne. Reminder they're not invincible. And then I like the bit with Hop Pop and Marcy at the end, like when Marcy excitedly asks Hop Pop if she could have her own robot, and Hop Pop's like, "What's a robot?" I thought it was very fun. I thought the second half was definitely a pickup from the first half.
And how about you, Joy? What were your thoughts? Joy?
Sorry, I had difficulties with my phone.
Oh, sorry about
Anyways,
that.
don't worry, don't worry. I'm here now. So, my thoughts on this second half. Wow, Frobo's built for fighting, and that's amazing. I okay, Mark. So the fight of Anne Sprague versus Frobo, it's really well animated. I was in awe. And if that's what that scene for just that episode looks like, I can't wait to see more direct fighting scenes on the show. I'm really excited for what would come next, especially with Frobo, knowing that he has so many combat capabilities. Uh, that it feels like they have to do something with that. Like they can't just show, oh yeah, Frobo knows how to fight and he's really strong, and then just do nothing with that. Hold on, sorry, I just stopped my toe and I'm in pain. Let me recompose for a moment.
Are you okay, Joy?
Yes, I have a tendency to walk around when I talk, and wow, that hurt. Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, that hold on, give me a second. My thoughts are over. You keep going. Give me a
All
minute.
right, Joy. I really liked how like the animation for Frobo's laser eyes. They just a beam. How do I describe it? Like that
Cyclops.
first, yeah, Cyclops, and like the first like when Polly tells Frobo to like just show them like he's friendly, he just burns that sign, and I like the
Yeah.
delayed explosion on it. Not sign, sorry,
Yeah.
the
Weather vane.
pointing north. Yeah,
I
and
do
then
think
oh, go ahead, King.
I do think they're gonna find some reason not to take him to the temples. We
For
don't
sure,
see
yeah.
him in the prologues, and like he could just blast his way through. And they'll need, yeah, I think he won't be coming up in a major way until maybe the dinner and Battle of the Bands, but definitely True Colors. I think he'll be in the background learning the farm. Polly will get a subplot in one episode teaching him about something. Like, I don't think he's going to be in the main focus after this for a bit. Now he'll come back, but I don't think he's going to be the main deal going forward for a bit.
Frobo gets farmed. But yeah, I do agree with. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Edvin. What were your thoughts on the second half?
Okay, second half. First of all, and doing the Family Guy post is precious. I love it. 10 out of 10. Best episode so far. Better than Reunion. Go F yourself. Anyways, I do think that this was a really cool way. There was a really cool part of the segment. It was mostly Frobo showing off his skills, more comedy in the part how they confronted Frobo. But I do like that it was sort of sweet that in the end Frobo was more like a baby, and he really just wanted to protect Polly, the only friend he has, and also Polly taking responsibility for him and that sort of dynamic that they have. I found that really sweet. Plus also Frobo speaking that I thought, well, it was really cute. The voice was really cute, and I hope he keeps doing that. But also Marcy reacting to Frobo, 10 out of 10, 100 and 100. Best part of the episode as well. And overall, I found it really sweet that we got to see Frobo fight, but we also got to see how he really relates to Polly and how that relationship will keep growing in the future. But I don't think we will see Frobo in the main spotlight for long. Like Uzbeks said, I don't think we will see him until at minimum like True Colors or that episode, or at least like season 3. I do think that he's gonna get farmed, to put it like that way. That he's gonna be taken to the side for a bit to focus on the other parts of the plot, then bring him up to when it's relevant. But overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of my favorite Wartwood episodes so far, including season 1.
Yeah, and I think the ending where like Frobo like shows his farming skills to Hop Up, I think that would be a neat way to like, I guess, write him out of the temple plot where they can just say, "Oh, Frobo's looking after the farm while we go out, like while we do this quest," and then Hop Up probably wouldn't have to pay for Chuck when like Frobo can like take care of the farm and then probably protect the whole town at the same time from any like creatures of the week.
Yeah.
Chuck is gone. He disintegrated. He's over.
No.
Damn robots taking our jobs.
I mean, it's
Poor
already.
Chuck.
I mean,
Sexually
like
become human, basically.
the tulips already like bloomed, so I guess he's off for the rest of like the season.
Yeah.
And oh, the frog cops were actually in this segment, not the previous one.
Yeah. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
their incompetence and their very British mannerisms.
Yeah, they had the same hats and they had the same design back in what was the episode where like the cops were chasing Sprig out of the alley?
The dance one, I forget the title.
Oh, Hop, Pop, and Lock, I think. Well,
Ah,
I'm guessing. I think I could check right now. but
Yeah, it's fine.
it's not relevant. But yeah, just those cops are funny, and I really like the shot of like Frobo leaning down while Polly talks to him. It's kind of sweet. It like really gave me a lot of Iron Giant vibes.
Oh yeah, which does make me worry for Frobo's future, considering Polly's voice actor has said there's a scene that makes her cry.
Oh
And
yeah,
the
that
Iron Giant parallels do not make me more confident.
I
you
mean, I
stay.
already cry at the end of the Iron Giant, so this ain't
Exactly.
this ain't giving me any happy thoughts.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, while I absolutely think that Frobo is gonna die, like they need to kill someone off. He's a robot. There's no blood. It's just gonna be easy. But
Plus,
Or
they
it's
I
just gonna be
definitely
like
think,
Samurai Jack, and they're gonna have him die brutally because he's a robot, and we
yeah,
can mask oil much better than blood. Also,
plus
yeah.
they could always just say they can rebuild him and say he's like not
Yeah.
actually dead.
But
He's just
gentlemen,
deactivated.
we have the technology.
listen,
We can rebuild him.
yeah. But
Yeah.
as I was saying, while I definitely think he's gonna die, it's just way too obvious. The scene that probably made Polly's VA cry is not that, since Matt also confirmed Hop Top and Polly are gonna get like more emotional scenes together, so
That's
that's
true.
probably
I
I
definitely
I assumed Hop Pop's emotional scenes were from After the Rain.
I thought the confirmation was that like
he-
Hop Pop
he's-
and Polly combined would have an emotional scene
Oh, like a
together.
Hop Pop.
yeah, he specified Polly and Hop Pop, not just Hop Pop with the planners.
Yeah,
The
and I'm not sure if
true
they're meant to be
colors.
separate. Yes.
Also,
I
as a
do
side
have
note,
this. Sorry, you continue.
legally they can use the Superman scene, but since Disney owns Marvel, they can just replace that with Frobo saying "Iron Man" and then exploding. I don't know.
I am
That would
Frobo.
true. I have this mental image of
Or they
like
can just use the other property they have and just say Darth Vader and then blow up, and then he appears as a force ghost in the season 3 finale, like
I
smiling.
have this mental image of Andreas getting his hands on the factory, whatever, and then Frobo having to fight an army of other Frobos, or even just one other Frobo, like to
Oh
protect
shit!
Polly as they're fleeing. Like he has to one against this
Even
massive horde, and he like gets torn
No. I
apart.
have an idea. Frobo has to beat like the leader unit of the Frobos, and then has to blow himself up to destroy the army and then save everyone. Or it's like
Uh,
Yeah, that's getting a little detailed. I'm not sure how
I was about
accurately
to
we'll be able to.
say, I wasn't the factory destroyed at the end of the
Yeah,
episode?
but
it was only one
it wouldn't
factory.
surprise me if there's a way to get it back up and running,
I
either
wouldn't
with
be
the help
surprised if
of the
there's
single
more
basement.
factories.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of the factory, there was something I really wanted to talk about. Speaking of, and
Okay, go ahead.
that's Frobo's origin or his purpose, really. We have seen in that episode with the factory that to build Frobo they needed a disc, right? A required disc. And this combined with Frobo's abilities being so adaptable in combat, in also in making crops, making toast, I do think that Frobo, in and of itself, it's more of an exploration unit that he helps the newts, excuse me, going around the different realms, providing more than just defense, but also support and settlements as food, water. I do think he was more of a helping unit in that sort of regard, and that those modes were stored in disks. For example, there was a fight mode, uh, a crop mode, water mode, and that were in sort of those disks that they were as the computer as in that very episode. So now Frobo didn't have any of those disks, and has all these powers but has no protocol to how to apply them. I think that's my theory on Frobo right now.
I think, like, with this and After the Rain, I think what they both have in common is that they're not giving us a concrete answer about the mysteries that they've teased throughout the season or the show in general, but they're at least telling us that like they're aware of what they've set up so far. So I I'm really hoping that we learn a little bit more about Frobo at least before the end of the season. Or maybe it's a season 3 thing. I don't know. But
I
like
do think that
I do think that we're going to learn more about Frobo's purpose or like what he was meant to do.
How
That
many episodes
maybe
are there left in season 2?
I think
Uh,
5.
well,
Yeah.
depends on how you count episodes when there are two 11-minute segments. We've got Maddie and Marcia and Toadstool next week. Then second Temple and Barrel's Warhammer. Then Bessie and Michelangelo and Third Temple. Then Dinner After the Rain, and then True Colors. So 5 more weeks worth, and then that's 8 plus 1. 9 more
Yeah.
episodes total.
and then
Yeah, I don't
Hiatus.
know if we're gonna get any like Frobo info this season.
Yeah, it might be a season 3 thing if it even happens.
I do think it's gonna be teased in the temples or Bellariana when she talks about the old new civilization. She's gonna bring up, oh, they had robots or machines, and I think that's gonna be more about teasing what really Frobo is. But overall, I don't think we're gonna see his full origin or purpose by the end of this season. But definitely, it's gonna be one of the main plot points of season 3, mostly because he has a technological side of Amphibia that is not really seen, but it has been seen so far that is active, has been Andreas and whatever that thing is called in the basement, which I will call Fractulu,
Yep,
which
Frog.
Fractulu is basically
Not sold on that, but we discussed that last week, so.
it's either that or that giant thing with plenty of eyes in the basement, and I'm not going to say that every time I talk about him. So I'm just gonna shorten it that way. But anyways, yeah, Fractula has all this technological side of things with tubes around him, and it's clear that there is some sort of technological environment around that room. So I do think that it's semi-connected to that, at least to where the technology from Frobo eventually came up to after disappearing for so many years.
In the chat, really good username was just bringing up like a Frobo with a bow tie, like Polly, and it just made me think about how like Polly has Michelangelo and Frobo, and she has basically like her own team. So it'd be like
True.
really hilarious if we just had her own like she's like the B team in like a finale episode when
Yeah.
her Michelangelo and Frobo just like wreck stuff
Pa-
up in the finale, her own crew.
Polly gathered her own version of the Avengers.
Polyheroes, polyheroes.
We need like a guitar riff too.
Oh shit! I just remembered. I just remembered that theory that said that the Calamity Gems worked like the Chaos Emeralds. I'm sorry, I just had to mention it. Okay, moving on.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of Sonic references, we also had like Frobo. We had Polly curling up into a ball again, like in After the Rain, and the same sound effect. And then this time Frobo copied her.
Yeah.
And Fear has brought us more Sonic content than Sega has done in like 2 years, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I will say the one thing at the end of the episode, I didn't quite like how they're sort of just making a joke out of Anne and Sprague not believing it was from the ruins. Like, obviously, in a few episodes, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, he definitely was from the ruins. Shrug.
I
Yeah,
think it was
maybe
just for
Marcy
fun.
can talk to him about it.
Yeah. If they explained to Marcy what the ruins were.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
we
it was
also had like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Advent.
I think that was just a fun joke to end the episode
Yeah.
on because it has been going on for so long that Frobo is coming. Frobo is coming. Frobo is coming. He's here. Where did he come from? I don't know.
And
Oh.
a reminder for viewers who might not be as lore obsessed as us for the origins of this robot.
Chuck posted in the chat, like I think back in October, Disney TVA posted like a phone wallpaper of like Polly and Frobo doing a pose, and I don't think that pose like happened in the episode. So I
That
don't
was
know if
like a
that.
promo thing, so those are always of dubious
Yeah, so I don't know if it
canons.
was just, but I don't know why would they just like why would they draw that up when they could just probably crop that off from a
Yeah.
future episode.
Teasing, and I think it shows what their dynamic's going to be, even if it isn't literally from the episode.
I just think a Disney intern fucked up and added that by accident.
That's fair.
It's like, okay, I posted this thing to social media. I'm just gonna relax. Oh my god, I just added the big dynamic between Polly and this new character that's not going to be revealed in like 3 months. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my job. Ah!
Not even 3 months. I think it was like 6 months.
6 months. Holy, Mickey Mouse has
And I don't
already
think,
buried that man. That man
and
Mickey
is
I
just
don't
Mouse
not
think
is not
exist.
so forgiving.
you do not anger the
Now you're
mouse in
gonna
his
die.
house.
You wanna know where all the Disney bombs come? You wanna know where all the Disney bombs go? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you.
That's good.
You make money for me. Continue, whoever.
Oh, this was back in December. Okay, so it wasn't 6 months. It was only 3 months. I mean, at least the episode was not leaked.
Pretty good. Except, yeah.
Don't jinx any future episodes getting leaked.
I think the worst case scenario is True Colors getting leaked. I think that's the worst, isn't it? The worst case scenario. I do
Yeah.
know that the Owl House, for example, had its new episodes from season 2 be season 1 be leaked early, like a couple of weeks early. Imagine that, but with such an important episode like True
Yeah.
Colors. Imagine that getting
No,
leaked. Like we are in the
Matt
second
would be so
temple.
pissed.
No, he would join Mickey.
I'd be pissed.
Now that's the team I want to see in like a new action movie, or Mickey Mouse and Matt in League Hunters.
Mickey Mouse.
Coming soon to History Channel, Leak Hunters.
Oh, this is not a very good leak. Who wants Goku in Swatch? Oh.
That's a good impression. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Friend of Frobo. Definitely
Yeah.
one of the most solid Wartwood episodes so far. I definitely like how Polly is now getting this new character to interact with and grow as a character, as a person. I do like that we're gonna have this extra layer to her personality, because I definitely think that she was missing something from all the planters. Sprig has his constant development that's going to be touched upon later, especially towards his family. HP has the aftermath of after the rain, but Polly never really had that sort of incentive to grow. But now with Frobo, she really has to. And I think that's really gonna be interesting moving forward.
And that's one of the things I'm a little, well, I mentioned this in the chat a few times, but Sprig doesn't have any Sprig episodes, if that makes sense going forward. Which makes me worry that his arc will be in the finale, which of course just means angst.
Lebig sad. I'm gonna cry. But yeah, I agree. I do think that Sprig needed that extra episode to grow. But overall, I'm not too miffed about it, because he's probably gonna be one of the stars in season 3. Probably. He's on the poster alongside the main character.
Sprig will be fine. He's the main character.
Yeah, he's just, yeah.
like the Sasha takeover mentioned.
Oh,
He
you
is the
know
main
that
character of the show.
in the end, everyone's gonna be defeated. Frogtool is gonna take over everything, and then Break just unlocks gem powers
Spring
level
just
number
kicks him.
2. Frobo dies, and he just says, "Sprig, you just have to let go." And then Sprig just goes fucking Super Saiyan 2 on everyone, and then just blasts Frogtool into the sun. The end.
I mean, he had the Goku Super Saiyan hair in that in that one segment.
Foreshadowing.
Sprig just rewinds time, Doctor Strange style.
No. I have an idea. The gems are drained, and they all like in the ground, and just Sprig just takes them and goes supersonic. Imagine like a yellow frog, pissed yellow frog with superpowers.
He finally becomes the poisonous frog Marcy confused him to be.
Sprig just has a line. I'm the ultimate life form.
Don't forget pulling a lever to save everyone. I say, looking at the chat.
Pull the lever, Kronk.
Yep.
Sprig pulls the lever to save the day after years of being denied.
Bang, bang, bang. Put my lever trigger.
Oh man, I really hope Sprig's lever pulling just gets used for the
The
finale.
trilogy.
Amazing.
The 3 great trilogies of Amphibia. The girls writing Sasha, Anne, and Marcy was here. The girls in suits, and then Sprig pulling the lever 3 times. The great trilogies of Amphibia.
Don't forget the guy flying in the background with
Oh, the
giant
guy
bug.
flying in the background. Poor guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's just friends with the bug now. They just like hang out.
They're chilling. They're chilling.
You know,
Season
knowing
3,
people,
we'll just see them.
being carried.
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Season 3, we'll just see the guy and the bug just in the background sipping some tea at the cafe or something because they're buddies now.
And they just say like, hanging around to the sky at like dead and at the dead door for like 4 months really makes you know a guy. You know what? You're my
Yep.
best friend. You know what I say? I trust you. And now I wanna. I don't know. I don't know how to end that joke. Anyways,
The bug just goes bzz, 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 bzz. For a
Speaking
So
second.
of
I guess
callbacks. Speaking of callbacks.
sorry to interrupt, but I think I'll go through each person and ask and talk about your final thoughts about the segment. And then after that, I think I have a special question to ask each of you. So I guess starting with Advent, so what were your impressions of this episode in general, both New Wartwood and Friender Frobo?
Like I said, New Wartwood felt a bit unpolished, or at least not with the level of care of the episode before it. But overall, I still enjoyed it. There was still nothing really to hate about that episode. Friender Frobo, as I've said before, was probably one of my favorite Wartwood episodes, and I really liked the way Polly grew as a character as the episode went on. Overall, I'm happy. I'm happy with that we got a breather between temples. And overall, I liked a lot of the character dynamics here and the small character teasing that will most likely come up in the future. If I had to rate it, it would most likely fall like a 7 out of 10. Nothing mind blowing. It's not Reunion or the first temple, but it's still really solid animation and slice of life, which is part of why I love Amphibia in the first place.
All right, thank you, Advent. And next up we have Ben. What were your general thoughts about both of these segments? Ben?
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No
I had
worries.
something with my audio. Well, thoughts on New Wartwood? Honestly, any episode with Marcy is amazing. Marcy in the suit was great, and I don't know. Friend or Frobo, Yeah, I I liked how Polly grew, but she also grew to what she kind of was in the past because at the start of that episode, she was kind of not like herself. Um, but I really like seeing the robot frog and seeing all it was. Um, I just looking forward to what else is coming. I
All
guess
right.
that's it.
Thanks, Ben. And then next we have Joy.
Okay, so yeah, final thoughts on the episode. It wasn't really. I mean, I love Frobo. I love the animation. It was a nice enough plot. I think it's quite a bit of lost potential. I feel like it could have been much more. Oh, wait, hold on. There's a lot of loud noise. Okay, so yeah, I feel like it could have been much more than what it was. It's not necessarily bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad episode. It it's just missed potential. Yeah. So I think my final thoughts, my final score will be like a 7 out of 10. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Joy. And how about you, Uzbeks?
Yeah, I agree that New Wartwood felt a little rushed, a little compressed, and just a little off somehow. Although it had its fun moments. And I did really enjoy Frobo. I understand some of the criticism that's made of Polly and her behavior, but I thought it had a nice internal arc. I think it's going to be a watershed going forward, both for the overall plot with Frobo and just Polly's character arc. I don't really do out of 10 ratings, but if I had to rank them of the season 2B episodes so far, I'd say New Wartwood is actually the second from the bottom. It's ahead of After the Rain, but nothing else. Um, but that's not a low bar. That's still very good. And then I'd say Friend or Frobo are my third favorite this season after The First Temple and Return to Wartwood.
Okay, thank you, Uzbeks. So yeah, for myself, I like New Wartwood. It felt like a bit too compressed for me, but I still had a lot of fun with the episode and seeing Marcy interact with the townies. Uh, and also Joe Sparrow was great as always. Unfortunately, he wasn't hitting on Bessie like last week, but I enjoyed the breather. And then for Friend or Frobo, I really enjoyed the episode. Like just seeing Frobo on screen being technologically advanced in this hick town. It was a lot of fun to see him move, and the animation was so smooth. And yeah, I didn't like how Polly acted in the beginning of the episode, but I'm glad that by the end it set her up. It's teasing like a new role for her, a new position for her to act like a older sister for Frobo. So yeah, I overall really liked these episodes. I thought the jokes were funny as always. Amphibia's comedy is always was always top tier. So I guess for the final part of the show, I think I'm going to ask each of you, what segment are you most excited for other than True Colors, and why? So I think I'll start with myself since I'm just putting you guys on the spot. I'm probably most excited for Barrel's Warhammer. Not because it's a Sasha episode, because I'm Team Hop all the way. I'm not too concerned about Sasha. I'm just curious about what the lore is going to be, if we're going to learn more about Grime and Sasha and what they've been up to, and maybe we'll get a little bit more backstory on the Tote on like the toad culture in Amphibia. And I guess I'll start with Uzbeks.
Tough question. You put me on the spot there. There's so much to be excited for, and also Bessie and Microangelo. Let's see. I think the second temple is sleeping. Everyone's like, oh, we were reunion, the dinner, and all the lead up to True Colors. But I think the second temple, done right, it'll give us a chance to really reflect on Anne. It'll recenter the show back to our protagonist, where she hasn't really been the central focus for a few episodes now, and it seems to be going forward in that direction. So I think it'll just be a really good chance. Hopefully we'll get some lore dump. Hopefully we'll get some focus on Anne and her experiences.
All right, thank you, Uzbeks. And yeah, like at first I was going to disagree about Anne not getting like the spotlight, but now that I think about like after the rain and even the first tempo is mostly about the hop hop and dynamic between them. So yeah, I agree. Up next, Joy.
I'm sorry. I was just
Okay, I guess for now
sorry.
we'll go with
No, no, no,
oh,
sorry.
okay.
I was dealing with something over in Amphibia. What was the question? I was not paying attention for some of this
That's
time.
that's fine, Joy. You're doing your job. I can't fault you for that. The question was, what segment are you most excited for and why, other than True Colors?
That's a tricky question. I think most likely it
If you
would
want, we can
have
come
to
back to
be.
you.
Yeah, wait, no. I think most likely it could just be. Uh, oh man, there's so many to choose from. Maybe the third temple.
All right. And what's your most anticipated episode and why, if you want?
Oh, the why? I mean, from the trailers, it just looks amazing so far. It just seems like it's gonna be the most action packed of these episodes, not including True Colors. So
Okay, thank you, Joy. And then next up, Ben, what segment are you most anticipated for?
Just looking at the titles on Google, um, I'm kind of interested. I'm surprised nobody like kind of talked about the one called the Battle of the Bands, because I'm wondering what that's all going to be about. Maybe something with like Anne versus Marcy. Um, but I'm I'm excited to see the third temple and the second temple, just because want to see what challenges that they're gonna like introduce. Like we know Sasha is like the like attacking power, or unless that's Anne, I don't remember.
Oh,
But like,
Sasha's the strength gem.
well, well, then the third temple is probably gonna just be like maybe a bunch of monsters or something, and like I don't. It's always it's gonna be probably a good time, good episode. Um, yeah, I, I don't I don't know what else to say.
All right, thanks, Ben. And then finally, we have Advent. What is your most anticipated episode and why, other than True Colors?
After thinking about it a lot, I gotta say Barrow's Warhammer. I think Grime and the Toads are a part of the Amphibia lore that hasn't been touched upon as much as I wanted to. And I think seeing an episode like that, to see Grime and Sacha dealing with Toad Lords, or at least Toad Generals, which is confirmed, or just finding this mystical hammer that has the same glow as the gems. I think exploring that part of the Amphibia world, like the total authority, the conflict, and how it relates back to Grime and Sasha, I think that's gonna be really interesting to see with their own characters. I think it's gonna bring a lot more lore than people expect, and also a lot of great moments since, well, Grime and Sasha's dynamic is probably one of my favorites in the entire show. Apart from that, I was gonna say Second Temple, just because we'll see more of Anne, and also Belloriana explaining the world of Amphibia as it is, more lore about the Newts, ancient civilizations. Overall, I think those episodes have me more interested at the moment.
All right. Thank you, Evan. So I think that'll conclude this week's episode. I just want to thank you all for coming. And next week we'll be discussing Maddie and Marcy and Toe to Redemption. So thanks, guys. See you next week. Say bye, everyone.
Bye. I probably won't be back into it until 2 weeks or maybe even 3 weeks. I've got some stuff at home. But nice talking with you. Always fun. See you around.
Bye. You know,
Bye.
I'll
It was
probably
really
try
fun.
and
It's
make
a
the
really
next
fun
one.
discussion.
Go ahead.
I will try and make the next one, but if I can't, I will most likely be here for the second temple anyway. So yeah, night everyone. It has been really fun.